Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Mindy here. I hope you had a phenomenal long weekend and you're ready for a great week. So today I'm going to talk about some new fragrances that I've brought into my collection over the past couple weeks, and I also have some minis that I'm going to be saving for another day. I picked up probably 8 or 9 mini fragrances that I'm also playing with, so if that interests you, please stay tuned. First, I just wanted to say a huge thank you for everyone who played in my giveaway recently. I love having the opportunity to send out fragrances so you guys can try them along with me and share your thoughts. I'm a small channel and it's really amazing to have the engagement and the interaction that I've had. I will be sending out 2 decants to the winners. Right now it's Paola and Renee, so thank you guys so much for playing along with me. I had a lot of fun with this. I may run into some shipping challenges with one of them, so if that's the case, I will be finding another winner in the US, so stay tuned. If that happens, I will let you guys know. So without further ado, let's get started and talk about these new fragrances that I brought into the collection. So the first fragrance that I'll talk about, I'm going to touch on super briefly because I already spoke about this one last week, and that is Utopia Vanilla Coco 21. This is a brand new fragrance that I brought into my collection. I've been playing with a little bit over the weekend and last week. The very noticeable thing from this fragrance is the white florals for me. Now historically I've had a little bit of a struggle with white florals. In this fragrance I truly do enjoy them. There's tuberose and gardenia, and both of those stand out for me. But they're balanced out with some vanilla, bourbon vanilla to be exact. And there's also coconut in here, which I absolutely adore coconut in my fragrances. This one doesn't go overly beachy to my nose, but there is a little bit of an aspect of that vacation vibe that you get here. It's not as much as like Bobbi Brown The Beach, which is very suntan oil smelling. This one is maybe a little bit more balanced out. I'm not sure, to be honest, if I would be reaching for this one over some of the other beachy fragrances that I have in my collection. I do enjoy this one, and as I've been decanting it for the winners recently, I loved smelling it. I kept getting whiffs of it, and I even got it on my skin and truly enjoyed the scent profile. My husband's not crazy about this one, and I'm gonna keep working to change that. I do like it. For me, it's about a 7 out of 10. I enjoy the scent profile, so I'm gonna keep using it from time to time and see if he still doesn't enjoy it. If that's the case, I'll probably let it go because I do want to wear fragrances that my partner can enjoy on me. But for now, I'll keep playing with it and see if he can grow to like it. That is Utopia Vanilla Coco 21 by Kayali. Now I don't have a full bottle for this one, but I thought I'd talk about it in this video as well because FragranceNet has really reasonably priced samples, and this is Bond No. 9, The Scent of Peace. Now this is not my typical type of fragrance, but I do have a strong like for this one. It's very fresh, so there's blackcurrant, grapefruit, lily of the valley, there's some musk and cedar in here, and when I looked at the accords in this fragrance, my nose picked up exactly the top 4 accords that are listed. There's fruity, citrus, woody, musky, and I think that's a really good way to describe this fragrance. Definitely pick up on a lot of that fruitiness, and it's backed up by that depth from the woodiness. And this one seems to be kind of in the realm of like Bal d'Afrique or Colette by Toka and Gypsy Water by Byredo. It just has kind of that fresh feel, but also with a lot of character. For a fresh fragrance, I do really like this one. My issue is that it's not a strong love, and for me, if I'm going to pay Bond No. 9 prices, I really want to absolutely love the fragrance. I'm curious from you guys, have you found your perfect gourmand Bond 9 fragrance? If you have, please let me know in the comments section below what that gourmand fragrance is, and I will try it out. Again, this one is The Scent of Peace by Bond No. 9. Okay, the next fragrance that I wanted to talk about here is Prada La Femme by Prada. And I did only buy a decant off FragranceNet because I wasn't too sure if this would be my type of fragrance. I can't believe I'm almost 2 years into my fragrance journey and I'm just now trying this fragrance out. I've seen it time and time again on the fragrance forums, and it is definitely unacceptable that I've gone this long without trying it. So I'm glad that I pulled this in a small bottle to play around with it, and it is exactly what I expected based on all of the reviews that I read. It is clean, it's sophisticated, it's soapy, it's a very pretty fragrance, and it's sort of in a similar vein to Beige by Chanel. I get a similar vibe from these two. They don't smell the same, but this does sort of take me back and remind me of that fragrance. This is one of those fragrances that I would absolutely adore smelling on someone else, but for me, it's not one that I would wear because I'm not as crazy about some of those soapy, clean fragrances as I am my typical type, which is those heavy, warm, cozy, sweet gourmands. This would smell beautiful on somebody. In fact, I could see someone choosing this to be their signature scent. I had kind of hoped that the tropical aspect would shine through maybe a little bit more. There's ylang ylang and frangipani in here, but they are not all that prominent to me. Again, it's really a strong, clean, soapy vibe that I'm picking up here. So if that is your jam, I definitely recommend Prada La Femme. Okay, the next fragrance that I want to talk about is James Bond 007 for Women 2. And I picked up this fragrance for two reasons. One, because it was compared to this original version that I absolutely love. I wore this as a signature scent for a couple years, and it's kind of fruity, it's dark, and I really, truly enjoy this fragrance. I'm not reaching for it as much anymore because I have others in my collection that I'm playing with. But the other reason I picked this one up is because it's compared to Hot Couture by Givenchy, the EDT version. Now I have the EDP, and I think the EDP is maybe a little bit more smoky, maybe a little bit more heavy than the EDT version of Hot Couture. And this one is compared to Hot Couture EDT. So I really thought I'd play around with this. It's extremely affordable. And so I wanted to get a feel for if this was something that I would like based on the fact that I like the other version of this fragrance and that comparison to Hot Couture. Now, I find this to be a very pretty, fruity, floral type fragrance. For me, it is very raspberry forward. There are other notes in here like champagne, pink pepper, pink freesia, blackberry, black rose, nerium, gardenia, vanilla, leather, cedar, sandalwood, and musk. That's a mouthful. A lot of notes in here. What I'm really picking up from this one is the fruitiness from that blackberry and that raspberry, and a lot of a floral component here. Now, I'm not quite sure if I would reach for this one over some of the other fruity florals that I have in my collection. For example, La Vie Belle, the Intense Mint version. I have a couple of the Angel Eau Croisier and Angel Ice Star. Those are fruity fragrances that I truly enjoy. And of course, I totally love this fragrance as well. I'm not sure I would pick this one up over some of those others. Still really, really do adore this fragrance. Smelled it on a sample strip at one point that came in a magazine, and from that point forward I was hooked. Not enjoying this one near as much, but I do think it's a great affordable option for somebody looking for a fruity floral fragrance. Again, that is James Bond 007 for Women 2 by Eon Productions. Okay, the next fragrance that I want to talk about is one that might be my favorite of this entire haul, and that is Seductive Noir. Now, I picked up this fragrance because it's often compared to Mon Guerlain, and quite frankly, I was really curious about it. Based on the accords alone, I'm not sure that I would have picked up this fragrance. The accords are aromatic, vanilla, powdery, iris, earthy, woody. It does sound up my alley with the exception of that aromatic quality, and I wasn't too sure about the earthiness here. And the notes as well didn't quite appeal to me when I was looking it up. There's sage, there's peony in here, jasmine sambar, Haitian vetiver. There's some velvet is in here as well. There's some notes that I haven't seen in a lot of my other fragrances, but boy, I really truly enjoy this fragrance. I absolutely see why it's compared to Mon Guerlain. It's very likable, and it has sort of that lavender feel that you get from Mon Guerlain, but I do not see lavender listed in the notes here. The price point, the reviews, and that comparison to Mon Guerlain really roped me into this fragrance, and I'm glad they did. I find this to be very similar, like I said, to Mon Guerlain, but I feel like this one goes a little bit more seductive, as the name suggests, Seductive Noir. I think it is sensual, it's alluring, it's very beautiful. The one thing that drives me absolutely crazy about this fragrance is the longevity is not great. This lasts maybe 3 to 4 hours where you're just intoxicated by it, but then it disappears completely, at least from my experience. So this is one that I will be needing to do the midday spray for, and I usually don't mind that. I was just disappointed by how much I truly love this fragrance combined with the lack of longevity. Now, if you already have Mon Guerlain in your collection, I personally don't think that this would be redundant, but I do think some people think it's very, very close. So consider that if you're thinking about blind buying it. The one thing about it is that it is very affordable. And so if you're looking for taking a little bit of a risk, this would be a good one to check out. Again, that is Seductive Noir by Guess. Now I have a couple DUA fragrances here and I wanted to touch on them briefly. This one is Rouge DUA, and it is often compared to Loubirouge by Christian Louboutin. This is a really gorgeous fragrance. I have to say that I haven't smelled the original Loubirouge, so I don't have anything to compare it to in my side-by-side comparisons. But what I will say is this is a great standalone fragrance on its own. The only notes I could find listed here are cardamom, iris, and vanilla. Now, if you like spicy iris fragrances with a little bit of vanilla mixed in there, I do think this is one worth checking out. It is very affordable. When you look at the DUA brand, it is only a 30 ml, but they do have pretty steep discounts, 30% off, quite frequently on their website. So if you're willing to take a risk and you want to get that Loubirouge feel without paying Loubirouge prices, I definitely suggest getting your nose on this one. Now, one thing about this fragrance is it has kind of that depth that I get from Dior Addict. Now, it doesn't smell like Dior Addict, but it has that rich, deep quality that I truly enjoy from Dior Addict. So if that appeals to you, that's another reason to get your nose on this one. The one thing that I would say is that this one dries down quite similarly to Eau Duelle EDT. I've seen someone else suggest that on a forum, and I was thinking the same exact thing. Now, it is similar to Eau Duelle, but it's not the same. This has a little bit of a seductive, sensual quality to it that I don't find in Eau Duelle. So it's almost like Eau Duelle would be the daytime version, and this would be the evening version. So if you do like Eau Duelle, the EDT, but you haven't bought it yet, you might want to get your hands on this. Or if you do have Eau Duelle, I don't think this one would be redundant because it is a little bit deeper, a little bit richer, the way I think of Dior Addict being. Not the same smell, but just similar in terms of that depth that I get from both of these fragrances. Again, this is Rouge DUA by the DUA brand. Okay, the next fragrance that I have is also by the DUA brand, and this one is Herbs and Sea Salt. This is supposed to be an inspiration of Wood Sage and Sea Salt by Jo Malone. I do have a sample of that fragrance and I cannot find it to save my life. I really wanted to do a side-by-side comparison, so I'll keep digging to see if I can locate it. I know I have it, but for now I'll just talk about this fragrance as a standalone. I vaguely remember smelling Wood Sage and Sea Salt, and it does smell very similar to what this is based on my memory. But again, it's been quite some time since I've smelled that fragrance. What I do recall is that fragrance has a reputation for being a little bit soft. It doesn't have a lot of strength in terms of longevity, but I did not experience any sort of longevity issues when I played with this fragrance. It does seem to be very strong. It has solid projection, and it really is a gorgeous smelling freshy fragrance. That isn't my typical genre that I love, but really I'll make an exception here because I find this to be an absolutely gorgeous fragrance. The only notes listed here are ambrette seeds, sea salt, and sage, and I just find it to be kind of a woody, citrusy, salt type fragrance that works perfectly in the hot summer months, and it's a nice, lovely citrus type fragrance, a nice, lovely, freshy fragrance. Again, that is Herbs and Sea Salt by the DUA brand. Okay, next up is Angelic Elixir, also by the DUA brand. This is one that is inspired by the Angel Share fragrance by Kilian, and this is one that a subscriber suggested that I get my nose on, and I am so glad I did. This is a gorgeous, boozy, warm, cozy, woody fragrance that I see wearing a lot in the cooler months. This one is very delicious, and I think a lot of people would really enjoy this scent profile. My guess is that in a side-by-side comparison, not a lot of people would really be able to tell that this is not the original Angel Share. I think it smells so similar that it'd be hard to differentiate between the two. Again, this is Angelic Elixir by the DUA brand, and this one has satisfied my need to buy the original Angel Share fragrance. Okay, the next fragrance that I'm going to talk about is Dior Addict. Someone suggested I bring this into my collection because of the bourbon vanilla that is in here, and I am so glad I did. Now, I did get a sample for this one last year, maybe in the month of May or June, and I tried it out and it was not love at first sniff, so I did push it aside. Fast forward to a year later, I tried it again based on the subscriber recommendation, and I am so glad I did. I don't know if my tastes and preferences are evolving or I'm just getting more familiar with this type of scent profile, but I find it to be a gorgeous, deep, sensual vanilla that is so addicting, as the name suggests. Just a gorgeous fragrance that I'm hooked on, one that I'm definitely going to be reaching for in the cooler months. And I'm curious from you guys' perspective, do you find this to be crowd pleasing? I love the scent profile, but I'm also curious if people that are around you that pick up on the sillage and projection from this fragrance, if they will like it as much as I do. Let me know your thoughts on crowd pleasability with this one. Again, a gorgeous fragrance. This is Addict by Dior. The last fragrance that I have here is R.E.M. by Ariana Grande. I am so glad that I picked this one up. It is unique, it is interesting. It's different from some of her other offerings. So when I think about Cloud, that is a nice fragrance that I enjoy, but it's one I really need to be in the mood to wear, and I'm not reaching for quite enough. And there's also Ari by Ariana Grande, which I find to be so sweet, so fun, so flirty. It's got that marshmallowy feel. This one is completely different. It sort of serves this niche feeling purpose in my collection. It's unlike anything else that I have, and it smells unusual almost. There are notes in here that I haven't seen in other fragrances. So for example, there is quince in here. That is an aromatic, fruity, sour type dry scent. There's also zephyr, which I haven't seen zephyr in any other fragrance that I have. That is kind of a sweet, gourmand type smell. So this one has that unique quality, unique scent profile, and I truly enjoy this one. I get kind of a caramelic salt type vibe from this one, and if you're familiar with the salt presence in Olympia by Paco Rabanne, that presence is sort of here as well. They do not smell the same. That salt profile that is prevalent in the Olympia fragrance is here to my nose, just mixed in a different way with a different composition, with that caramel, that fig, the salt, the quince. There's lavender in here, which I pick up on also. And then in the base is tonka bean, musk, and sandalwood. Now this is one that I am not sure about the crowd pleasability. Again, it's kind of an unusual scent, and it's not that typical sweet gourmand or fresh, soapy, fresh fragrance. It's a little bit different, so I do recommend going into Ulta if you can, or trying a sample of this fragrance before you buy it. It's not an expensive fragrance, but it's also not a cheap fragrance. It's kind of in that mid-range, so maybe one to try before you buy. A really beautiful scent profile. Curious about the crowd pleasability from your perspective. Do you think this is one that would get a lot of compliments? I do, but again, it's unique and it's unusual. That fragrance is R.E.M. by Ariana Grande. Alright guys, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I truly appreciate you. I hope you enjoyed this video on fragrances that I brought into my collection recently and have been playing with. I'm super excited to start playing with some of the mini fragrances that I brought in from FragranceNet, and I'll definitely let you guys know my opinions on those as well. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and until next time, I'll see you soon.